There is a way the body closes without movement. It simply begins to vanish from the inside, subtle, quiet, slow, a folding in of presence until sensation becomes shadow. The body continues to function. It walks, speaks, sleeps. It is dressed, fed, watched in mirrors. But it becomes managed instead of felt from within. This is how the first song begins to leave. It begins with the subtle separation between aliveness and form. The moment a person starts treating the body as an object, a project to be fixed, a shape to be controlled, a liability to be endured, the first notes fall away. This is older and quieter than self-loathing. It is the gradual disconnection from intimacy with being physical. Somewhere in the weight of accumulated life, the body becomes something other than home. The first song speaks of contact, touch, yes, but also the resonance of presence through sensation. It is what allows the wind to feel like a message. It's what lets a hand on your shoulder reach through years of guardedness. It's the skin's ability to weep without tears, simply by being met with softness. The first song lives in this, the sacred rhythm of a body that feels itself being felt by life. When the song fades, what remains is mimicry. People touch, but they connect differently. They feel stimulation, but lose depth. They look in the mirror and struggle to recognize the person looking back because something has receded behind the eyes. The song is still there somewhere, but it is quiet, dormant, waiting to be remembered by something deeper than therapy or self-care routines or learning to love the body as it is. It waits for reverence to return. When reverence returns, it arrives almost unnoticed. In the moment your breath deepens without instruction, when your fingertips rest against your own skin and something inside you finally listens. Reverence means the willingness to inhabit the body instead of worshipping it, to let it speak in silence, not through symptoms. And there is a purity in the way the body remembers. It requires permission instead of memory. Even after years of disconnection, it still knows what it is. The language of warmth, the meaning of weight, the sacredness of contact remain intact. What it waits for is your willingness to feel again, without needing it to be anything but alive. The distortion of the first song includes the subtle messages that say your body must be improved, that pleasure is indulgent, that sensation is weakness, that the body must be mastered or ignored to become spiritual. These ideas fragment the connection. They turn the body into a boundary instead of a bridge. Over time, you realize that what you call awareness is happening somewhere outside your own skin. You begin to perform embodiment, adjusting posture, controlling breath, touching gently because someone told you it was healing. But the song responds to softness instead of a method. It is too ancient, too whole to be manipulated into return. It comes back when you stop trying to feel and simply allow what is already felt to move through you. The body asks to be honored as the place where spirit and earth are in conversation instead of asking for understanding. Every cell carries the memory of arrival. Every scar carries the history of resilience. Every breath, when fully allowed, reactivates the quiet flow of sensation. Presence instead of stimulation or excitement. Just the full spectrum of being, held in skin, in space, in form. The return of the first song is marked by presence rather than ecstasy. The kind that moves through hunger without rushing, embraces pleasure without numbing, and rests in stillness without apology. You begin to notice how often you override the body, pushing past tiredness, abandoning comfort, enduring touch that lacks nourishment, avoiding the kind that might heal. You see it with clarity instead of shame. And in that seeing, the song begins to surface. Your body starts to feel inhabited again, as a sacred terrain, alive, responsive, and profoundly wise, instead of as a shell or expression of identity. As the first song re-emerges, perception shifts in ways that announce themselves quietly. What returns is subtler, a change in gravity, an unfamiliar warmth in familiar gestures. The pressure of your feet against the floor becomes presence instead of mere weight. The brush of fabric against your skin becomes a message, a reminder, instead of background noise. Water tastes different. Silence hums louder. The body begins to feel like you instead of a vessel you inhabit. This is the quiet revolution of return. Your awareness deepens inward instead of expanding outward. You feel signals arise from within as a hum of alignment, a yes that emerges from sensing instead of thinking. The song reshapes the very place your actions come from instead of guiding your actions. And something else occurs. The body begins to forgive you. It can release the held breath of all the years it endured your absence because it never held resentment. The times you abandoned it for performance. The nights it asked for rest and you gave it punishment. The moments it ached to be felt and you distracted yourself with noise. All of it held somewhere beneath the skin, waiting for reunion instead of apology. When this happens, stillness becomes natural because the body finds peace instead of remaining quiet. You stop managing symptoms and begin listening for symphonies. You notice how the body responds to beauty, how it softens in truth, how it recoils when surrounded by distortion. You feel these things as clearly as temperature instead of needing to decode them. And in that space, new choices appear, ones that arise from sensing instead of being made from effort. You move toward what harmonizes. You decline what fractures. You stop negotiating your safety in the name of kindness. You stop overriding your body's signals in the name of compassion. This is natural alignment, the kind that arises when the sacred song of the body sings freely instead of being muted by fear. Healing, as the first song reveals, is the gentle return to what always was instead of the fixing of what is broken. A return to the unshakable reality of presence within form. Presence that went quiet beneath the noise instead of actually leaving. True healing in this context often arrives as a quiet inhale that you allow to complete instead of being dramatic. A sigh that softens the tissues. A moment when you touch your chest because something within it has begun to sing again instead of to soothe. As the body comes back into relationship with itself, it starts guiding instead of demanding. You begin to respond to the invitations already present in every moment instead of chasing healing, to rest, to feel, to pause before saying yes, to notice how your skin reacts when someone enters the room, to trust the tightening in your stomach before the thought arrives. These are songs in real time, sensory truth moving faster than cognition, more accurate than any belief instead of alarms. This level of listening emerges naturally as the separation between body and being dissolves instead of being manufactured. You need presence to be revealed through practices. You need to be in the body because that is the only place life actually happens instead of mapping it. This is the ground the first song restores. Somatic integrity instead of emotional safety alone. You return to yourself as a single organism, breath, blood, presence, soul. And in that reunification, the illusion of needing to be better begins to fall away. What takes its place is attunement instead of complacency. From here, healing becomes something the body does as you get out of the way, as you stop silencing the song that was always guiding your return. This inner ground, restored, inhabited, attuned, becomes the only place from which the rest of the journey can be lived. Without this foundation, the emotional field cannot be trusted. The mind cannot be quieted. The spiritual cannot be integrated. Without this song, you float. With it, you root. And it is from this rootedness that the second song begins to stir, the song of emotion, of water, of the tender ache that asks only to be allowed to move.